In the silent chambers of ancient tombs, where incense clung to stone walls and prayers were whispered for safe passage beyond death, one god stood watch. Not a god of terror or a god of cruelty, but a god of balance. This is Anubis, the jackal-headed guardian of the dead, the guide of lost souls, the silent witness who never judged by power, wealth, or blood but only by the weight of the heart. Yet Anubis was not always the shadowed figure we imagine today. His story is one of shifting power, betrayal, loyalty, and survival. A god born from tragedy, forged in secrecy, and shaped by one of the greatest cosmic conflicts in Egyptian mythology, the war between Horus and Seth. This is the story of Anubis. Long before Osiris ruled the underworld, before Isis became the great mother goddess and Horus rose as the symbol of divine kingship, there was Anubis. In the earliest myths of ancient Egypt, Anubis was the original god of the dead. Not a servant or a guide, but the ruler. The deserts of Egypt were filled with wild jackals, creatures often seen prowling near graves. To the ancient Egyptians, this was no coincidence. They believed jackals were guardians of burial grounds, protectors who stood between the living and those who had crossed beyond. And so, Anubis took their form. Black fur, not for death, but for rebirth. The color of fertile soil after the Nile flooded. The color of mummified flesh preserved for eternity. Anubis was not feared. He was trusted. When someone died, it was Anubis who received them first. He washed their body. He prepared them for burial. And he ensured that death was not chaos, but transition. But mythology evolves. And so does Anubis's origin. In later traditions, Anubis is no longer primordial. He is born into scandal. The story begins with Osiris, king of Egypt, a god of life, agriculture, and divine order. Osiris was married to Isis. But his brother Seth, the god of storms, violence, and disorder, was consumed by jealousy. Yet before Seth's betrayal, another secret unfolded. Osiris had an affair with Nephthys, Seth's wife. From that union, Anubis was born. Ashamed and terrified of Seth's wrath, Nephthys abandoned the child. She hid him in the wilderness, leaving him to fate. But fate had other plans. Isis discovered the infant. Instead of killing him or rejecting him, she raised him as her own. And in doing so, Anubis became something rare in mythology. A child born of betrayal, yet shaped by compassion. Seth's envy finally reached its breaking point. He invited Osiris to a grand feast. There, Seth unveiled a beautifully crafted coffin. Whoever fits perfectly inside, Seth declared, may keep it. Osiris stepped inside. The lid slammed shut. The coffin was sealed with molten lead and thrown into the Nile. Osiris was dead. Egypt fell into mourning. Isis searched endlessly for her husband's body. But when she found it, Seth struck again. He tore Osiris into pieces and scattered them across the land. This was not just murder. It was desecration. And it was Anubis who answered. Anubis found Osiris's remains. Piece by piece. He did what no god had done before. He invented mummification. He began with purification. The body was washed in sacred water from the Nile, mixed with palm wine to cleanse decay and corruption. Death had to be stripped of chaos before order could take hold. Then came the incision. With a blade of obsidian black as night and sharp as judgment, Anubis opened the body with precision. The organs were removed one by one: lungs, liver, stomach, intestines, brain. Each was cleansed, wrapped, and preserved, guarded for eternity. The heart remained. It always did. Because one day, it would be weighed. The body was then filled and covered with natron, the salt of the desert. For 40 days, it dried. Liquids drained away. Decay stopped. Time itself seemed to pause. When Anubis returned, the flesh was no longer vulnerable. He anointed the body with sacred oils and resins, myrrh, frankincense, sealing it against rot, preserving its form so the soul would recognize its vessel. Then came the wrapping. Linen layered with ritual precision. Each bandage bound with incantations. Amulets placed between folds to protect against demons, against oblivion, against forgetting. And finally, the last rite. The opening of the mouth. Anubis touched the lips, the eyes, the ears, restoring the senses so Osiris could see, hear, and speak in the afterlife. Not to return to life, but to rule the dead. This was the first mummification. The first time death was ordered. The first time chaos failed. And from that moment on, every burial ritual that followed was not tradition. It was imitation. Osiris did not return to the land of the living. Instead, he became lord of the Duat, the underworld. And Anubis stepped aside. Not in defeat, but in purpose. From ruler of the dead, he became their guardian. In death, every soul faced judgment. Not from Osiris alone, but from Anubis. The deceased would stand before the scales of Maat, the goddess of truth. Anubis placed the heart on one side, the feather of truth on the other. If the heart was heavy with guilt, it was devoured by Ammit. If it was balanced, Anubis guided the soul forward. He did not argue or condemn. He simply measured. After Osiris's death, Egypt plunged into divine conflict. Horus, the son of Osiris, rose to challenge Seth for the throne. Anubis did not hesitate. He chose loyalty over blood. Though Seth was his biological father in some traditions, Anubis sided with Horus. In certain myths, Anubis confronts Seth directly. He captures him, marks him, flays him. And from Seth's skin, some legends claim, the leopard skin cloak of priests was born, symbolizing chaos subdued by ritual. Anubis was no longer just a guide of souls. He was a defender of cosmic order. As centuries passed, Anubis's prominence faded. Osiris became the central god of the afterlife. Yet Anubis never vanished. He remained in every burial, every prayer, every ritual. Anubis is not a god of endings. He is a god of thresholds. He stands where fear meets acceptance, where chaos yields to order, where death becomes continuation. He does not promise salvation. He promises fairness. And perhaps that is why, thousands of years later, we still remember his name. Because in every culture, in every age, we all fear the journey. And we all hope there is someone waiting to guide us through. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Mythagic for more mythological stories.